Trial for a crime Democrats can't name is now in the hands of a liberal Manhattan jury. How does Trump think this whole thing's going?
Mother Teresa could not beat these charges. These charges are rigged. The whole thing is rigged. You have a trial like this where the judge is so conflicted he can't breathe. He's got to do his job. And it's not for me, that I can tell you. It's a disgrace. And I mean that. Mother Teresa could not beat those charges.
4.5 hours, this jury's already deliberated longer than the OJ jury. But Biden must be happy because that's 4.5 hours that Trump can't campaign in the Bronx. The jury resumes deliberations tomorrow at 9:30, and like the rest of us, they're confused. They asked Judge Merchan to reread them what the case was about, and Judge Merchan finally told the jury what the crimes were. Are you ready? There's three: a federal campaign violation, the creation of false records, and a tax violation. Now, we knew about the false records charge, although I didn't know how marking legal expense for paying a lawyer is a crime. Tax violations. First time I'd ever heard anything about taxes. And the old campaign finance violation. And now we know the specific charge. I'll read it. It's a violation of New York State election law to conspire to promote the election of any persons by unlawful means. It's a misdemeanor. And by the way, Bragg has to prove that Trump knew he was breaking election law. Now, in 2016, Trump was a first-time politician. He didn't know election law. And if silencing bimbo eruptions is illegal, you'd have to throw Bill Clinton's entire campaign in prison. Trump was going to call a witness to say this wasn't against the law. A judge wouldn't let him. So listen to what the judge told the jury. The jury gets to pick what crime Trump's guilty of. The 12 jurors don't even have to agree on which 3 charges he's guilty of. It can just be one, or any 1, 2, 3 charge combination. And the judge considers that a unanimous verdict. Convicted. It's like a crime buffet. 12 jurors can go to the buffet, each eat different things. One juror just gets a salad. The other jurors get meat and potatoes. Other jurors get salad, meat, and potatoes. All they have to do is agree on that their meal was delicious, even though they didn't even taste everyone else's food. Fill your plate with misdemeanors, whatever you want, and we'll call it a felony. This is the first time we've ever seen a case like this in the history of the American legal system, and 3 non-unanimous misdemeanors make a former president and convicted felon. Now, it's not like they found Trump with gold bars in his closet like Gold Bar Bob. It's not like Trump filmed his crime spree like Hunter. If I don't understand it and our lawyers don't understand it, how do you think the jury feels?
The jury must be overwhelmed. I mean, to have all of these instructions just read to them without them getting a copy is going to be overwhelming for them. And also, it's crazy that the lawyers were not able to discuss the instructions in their closings yesterday. They weren't able to do that yesterday, which I find bizarre.
The judge sent 12 Manhattan jurors to deliberate on the fate of the former president with a new crime and no guidance. A couple of these jurors went in there admitting they don't like Trump. How are they supposed to be fair if the crime isn't clear? You can't. That's the point. It's all emotion. This case was designed to be confusing. It's why they made it about sex and the election and never touched on the actual law. It played right into the jury's biases and stereotypes. Dismissed jurors were telling us this weeks ago, remember?
Do you feel like the people that you were speaking with in that jury room that you sat with all day on Tuesday, that they can put together a fair and impartial jury because of that sense of duty? Do you think that's possible?
I'm not sure about that.
Really, why?
You know, everybody has biases and, you know, stereotypes in their minds.
The jury has 2 lawyers on it who work in Manhattan corporate law firms with DEI all over their websites. They know the charges are Frankenstein. They went to law school. They know better. But what do you think happens if they find Trump not guilty and show up to work next week? Corporate law firms in New York City are about as political a place as you can work, outside of politics. These types of firms all work for and donate to Democrats. Their reputations and their careers are in jeopardy. So is everyone else's inside of the courtroom. If Bragg fails, his career's over. maybe he lands at MSNBC, maybe. If Judge Merchan guides the jury to a conviction and he's overturned on appeal, Democrats don't care. He doesn't care. It's after the election. Merchan will be a hero in liberal law circles, and his daughter, a Democrat consultant, will get filthy rich. There's something very fishy about how Judge Merchan came to preside over this case. There are 24 sitting judges who were supposed to be randomly selected from to take this case. Judge Merchan wasn't even on the list of judges. He's an acting judge. And he's not just a Biden donor. Judge Merchan donated to the Progressive Turnout Project and to an organization called Stop Trump. And he never recused himself. Judge Merchan was allegedly randomly selected for the Trump hush money case, the Trump organization fraud case, and for the Steve Bannon case. This is almost statistically impossible that an acting judge, not within the pool of sitting judges, who happens to be a Stop Trump donor, is randomly selected to all three of these Trump cases within the same year. It's probably another conspiracy theory. Just like the resistance left fell in love with Fauci, Mueller, and Avenatti, they now have a man crush on Merchan.
With respect to Judge Merchan, I mean, I am like now, I have like a man crush on him. Right. He is such a great judge that it's hard to see that the jurors wouldn't have the same impression. I mean, you just keep on thinking, if you looked in a dictionary for like judicial temperament, that's what you get.
Judicial temperament, he kicked everybody out of a courtroom so he could yell at a defense witness who rolled his eyes, and then threatened to throw the former president of the United States in jail for talking. The judge is throwing a tantrum inside the courthouse, and the sitting president sends actors to throw tantrums outside the courthouse. He let a porn star suggest she was sexually assaulted and then told the jury, oops, pretend you didn't hear that. And then let Michael Cohen sell the jury anti-Trump T-shirts from the witness stand. No one knows what the heck is going on.
The confusion is nobody knows what the crime is because there's no crime. Nobody knows what the crime is. The DA didn't name the crime. They don't know what the crime is. That's what the problem is. It's a disgrace. This thing ought to be ended immediately. The judge ought to end it and save his reputation.
The defendant has a constitutional right to know the crime he's being charged with. You can't tell him on the last day, and you can't tell the jury the crime on the last day either. And if the judge, witnesses, and the crowd can't control their emotions, how can we expect the jury to put their emotions aside and use reason to decide this case? Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.